Hello and welcome to end of Negotiate Studies 2 blog. This isn't going to be the uni blogs list, just generally because I've only just started doing this now, and so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to crack on as I've just finished writing the blog, which this is on. Yeah, okay, where do I start? Now, as you will know from the first end of Negotiate Studies 1 blog, which is up there, I explained the process I went through in pre-production. Now, this is the other half, where I'm continuing with the film, obviously, and it's all about post-production, like redoing styles of cutscenes, flashbacks, a lot of editing, a lot of exporting, and then editing and exporting again. So I'll just cut to the chase. Now, when I started Neg 2, I just had the assessment for Neg 1, and I'd been asked to do a second animatic with cutscenes in because the first one was slightly too long. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in Neg 1. If I didn't, sorry. So yeah, I was asked to put that in. Now they couldn't mark it for Neg 1 because they'd asked me to do it during the assessment for Neg 1, so it's going in Neg 2, which is what I'm explaining now. So hopefully they'll mark me down for that as well, fingers crossed. And yeah, I hope that goes well towards my mark. After that, it was just a case of as I'd already had the things designed, it was just a case of putting them in and animate. Well, it's a case of really animating them. And because I'm not really a Flash CS6 person, I'm not someone like Gareth or Danny. Gareth Evans, not Gareth Lewis. I felt much better because Photoshop's a software that I'm used to, that I use mainly for editing out photos, but also for the occasional animated thing. So I felt that was kind of more my area. So I got started on it. Now, I had a transcript of all of the dialogue that was used, and then there was Photoshop opened up, and there was various other references I was using at the time. And in terms of how I went, I think it took me about a month to get scene 1 done. Well, kind of like half of scene 1 because it was actually quite long. There's a lot of mouth movements to do, and there's a lot of words there's a lot of stuff that my dad has actually talks about, through the whole experience, because he had to come up with like proper detailed answers, which involved a lot of trimming this stuff down, which I explained in Neg 1. Now, once I'd done that, once I'd like edited or animated part of scene 1, I played it. It looked good. To begin with, it wasn't actually in time because I was just animating the stuff and putting the layers in and not really concerning myself with the soundtrack. But once I messed about with the soundtrack a bit, I decided to make sure I got all the layers at the right points and that the mouth movements was in time with the audio. So once that was done, and that was a lot of fidgeting around, that was a lot of long hours doing that, it looked good. Now, my only problem with it was if I was going to continue going down the path of animating my dad's mouth. Bear in mind, my dad has a beard, so it's kind of tricky. And it's one of those where it took a long time. And my concern was I wasn't going to get it all done. So, what I proceeded to do is just put that animation stuff on hold and sort of redo the cutscenes and flashbacks a bit, because as people are aware, my style of drawing is kind of cartoonist, so I went over the cutscenes because they'd been drawn in like thin pen. I sort of went over them a bit thicker to give it a more cartoonist effect. Don't quite know what I'm doing the claw there. So that was generally the reason for doing that. Once it all done, I started work on actually animating the cutscenes. Just crucial ones that were pivotal to the story. Obviously, I've got the animated stuff right at the beginning of the film, which is Dad talking about how he was told and etc. And then the first flashback. So tired. First flashback that's done is my mum's reaction to her being told, which is when she was crying, which you'll have no doubt seen in the film already. And what that was a case of is because I wasn't sure quite how to do that. I did get some advice on that. But once I picked it up, it was fairly simple. I added it, and so when I fully played it back, so it's one layer. Now, when I did do one and then did the other, I was kind of like stuck on how would I get each one saved. It was a case of the original background layer is locked when you open it up, so I had to go background to layer and then layer 1 and do that one, save that, and then do layer 2 and save that, so you get the general idea of when it was done. You could generally see like the tears flowing, which was kind of key. Seagulls. So I did that not just for Mum's reaction, but for Lydia's reaction, because she was more kind of, I don't want to say chilled out. She was more like calmer about it. So she's got sort of smile, and for some reason I plucked her eyebrows like really thick. But the smile's there, so getting a gist of the idea. Except for the fact that her eyebrows are like dead bushy. The next thing I animated was our dog Alfie. Now, this was a bit of a tricky one to do because I didn't actually have any footage of him barking, and he only barks at certain points or barks at certain people. And if you're not around, then it's pretty difficult, and he doesn't really stay still much. So fortunately, when my parents were on holiday, one of my uncles had come around, and he was barking like in front of him, so I got the footage there. Not on this camera, but on another phone, and I was able to use that on the widescreen. This Sunday gone, and I got that put all together. And originally, kind of looks a bit terrifying, if I'm honest. When I animated it all together and looked at it, the dog looked absolutely terrifying. He looked like his mouth was like dead wide like this, and he got loads of teeth showing. So he actually one of those terrifying dogs that was on something. So I had to cut, I think, 3 teeth out, 2 on one side and 1 on the other, and the 2 sharp ones at the front had to be more like the same width and length. But once that was all done, that it looked a lot better. To be honest, these things they weren't even taking as long as I thought. It was kind of like once I'd done one, it just came natural for the rest. The last one was my reaction, and it was just a case of kind of the same thing that I'd done with my mum's reaction, but with mine. And because my hands are kind of up here, there isn't much room for like getting tears in, so the tears are going to come down here and like down there. So you're gonna they're just coming down to about there. So once they were all done, it was like into Premiere and editing galore, hours galore. I mean, it's like it's 25 to 3 in the morning now. And I was working on it until about 7:15, so I was on for about 4.5 hours non-stop, editing, rendering, importing files, trimming audio, trimming video, getting the right amount of frames in for each animated bit. Oh, hang on, forgot something. The calendar stuff where my dad is going on about 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. That was just used with general film dissolve, video transition. So as you go into 2, it then fades into 3, fades into 6 and 12. So that was fairly simple, and I had to actually trim. There is live action stuff in there, but not as much as the alternative version, which is the version I had to do when the laptop froze, because I just had to have one ready, which is the alternative one is live action still art film. So there's a bit of live action in, but there's not a lot, because if I just had audio covering all of the still art and animation stuff, you're kind of not really seeing the present day, which I felt I needed to have, and I needed to have some stuff in front of present day that can then lead into flashbacks. So I figured out what I was putting in, but I was trimming it down quite a lot. So instead of the thing being 3 minutes, it's actually it's over 2 minutes. So it's under the limit. It's like on 2 minutes 7 seconds. So it's quite. So I'm definitely under the limit, which is a good thing. And then obviously you've got the credits at the end. So yeah, that is the story of my final year project. It's not quite as long as the documentary blog for my dissertation, but I think it's probably around about the same amount for Neg 1. So yeah, that is the end of the Neg Studies 2 blog, and it's the end of the whole cancer experience project, really. Yeah, this is part of a massive playlist on YouTube called University Work. So you've got various versions and blogs and whatnot on there, so you can see like the process that I've gone through for this whole final year project. It was a bit of a personal thing to go back to. I wasn't sure whether, to be honest, in the first place, whether my dad would want to talk about it, but he was fine with talking about it, and he was happy that he could talk about it and it could be put in. As it's quite a personal thing, I wasn't sure how I'd react with it, but I wasn't as emotional this time as I was when I got told about it, but I'm not going to delve into that too much, because you generally get the gist watching the film of my reactions. So that's the end of it. I want to thank mainly my dad, because he's the one who's talking through it, but also my mum, my sister, and also the dog. You know, for let me like draw them and use them in the film. So that's it. This is now going on the playlist, so I'm going to switch this off in about a minute and get this sorted. So yeah, so I go one quick message on to sum up this whole project. It's been telling at times, it's been stressful, it's been weird, but I think the key thing to take away from all this is that for those that do have cancer, not everyone survives from it, but those that do, you should be grateful. Okay.